Good morning, everyone.
There you go.
My name is Gordon Sand. I'm the Executive Director of the Calgary John Howard Society, and I'd like to welcome you to our announcement today regarding the first ever International Wrongful Conviction Day, which the Association in Defense of the Wrongfully Convicted is launching. Agencies and organizations in different parts of the world, including Canada, the United States, Australia, the Netherlands, and Ireland, are working together to launch this day. It's being held to recognize the tremendous personal, social, legal costs associated with wrongful convictions, and to recognize those persons who have been forced to endure tremendous personal, social consequences brought on by the wrongful criminal conviction. Today is an opportunity to inform, to educate the community on the causes, consequences, and complications associated with wrongful convictions. Calgary John Howard Society is proud to be support this cause, and I'd like to, there's going to be 3 speakers, and I'd like to introduce, first of all, Greg Rodin, who's a civil lawyer who worked with David in litigating against the police and prosecution in David's case, and is now representing Kyle Unger in the same situation. So I'd like to introduce, welcome Greg up to the podium.
Morning. Thank you for attending this commemoration of the first ever Wrongful Conviction Day. It is important that we have taken the time to think about and remember those who have been convicted and incarcerated for crimes they did not commit. Today we bring into focus as individuals, as a nation, and as an international community the tragedy of wrongful conviction. We think about the pain and suffering of those who are stigmatized and loathed as perpetrators of often the most hideous of crimes, when in fact they are innocent. We bring into focus the pain of families having to stand by helplessly as their loved ones are taken away from them and incarcerated for crimes they did not commit. We bring into focus the unfathomable pain and that the wrongfully convicted must endure when the full weight of the criminal justice system bears down on them, wrongfully convicting them on lies, untruths, and distortions. We bring into focus the heartbreak that the wrongfully convicted must endure when they are forcibly taken away from their lives and their loved ones, from their children, who they are not going to be there for, from their spouses, from their parents, from their friends. We bring into focus the hardships, dangers, and cruelty associated with being locked up in prison, and how difficult and unjust that is for the wrongfully convicted. We bring into focus that life is short, and what a great tragedy it is to be wrongfully convicted and to be forced to waste any part of one's life in prison. Today's commemoration of Wrongful Conviction Day is also a call to all of us to do what we can to ensure that we live in a society where the number of wrongful conviction cases are minimized, and where they do occur, that they are identified and acknowledged and appropriately addressed. No criminal justice system is perfect, but we can safeguard against wrongful convictions through the laws we pass and the policies and procedures we implement relating to all aspects of the criminal justice system, including the conduct of police and prosecutors. We must take all necessary steps to ensure that the criminal justice system is designed and operated to uphold the fundamental principle that we are all innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Wrongful Conviction Day brings into focus how very important it is to take steps to avoid wrongful conviction in the first place. Another issue worthy of our consideration on Wrongful Conviction Day is to ensure that we have a fair and unbiased process in place to identify cases of wrongful conviction where they do occur. The police, prosecutors, and those running the criminal justice system should not be relied upon to identify and remedy their own errors. There is a much better and more successful model for us to adopt, and that would be an independent commission empowered to fully and impartially investigate and make determinations as to whether a wrongful conviction likely occurred. This commission could also be empowered to compensate victims of wrongful conviction. This system is in place in the United Kingdom and appears to be functioning well and would be a good model for us to use here in Canada. Finally, justice demands that the amount of compensation awarded to victims of wrongful conviction reflects the value of the loss in accordance with legal principles that are well established in this country. Any compensation system put in place without that mandate would simply foist another injustice on the wrongfully convicted. Please, talk to your MLAs, talk to your MPs, talk to your friends, relatives, neighbors, and associates. Let them know that justice for the wrongfully convicted is a worthy priority. Donate money to AIDWIC to help it uncover cases of wrongful conviction. Their record in that regard and their dedication to the cause and to their clients is truly remarkable. Raise awareness and be part of the solution to the problem. Thank you. I would now like to introduce David Milgaard. I've known David for decades at this point. He was my client and he's currently a very dear and close friend. I have the greatest respect for David's strength, integrity, courage. I can't imagine the pain and indignity that he suffered, even though I'm fully aware of all the facts surrounding it. To know the facts is one thing, to feel it is another. He has come through and has always been a whole human being. When I met David, I knew he couldn't hurt a fly. And this was well before he was ever exonerated by DNA or any other cause. David is a wonderful human being. He's a caring individual. He's never sought vengeance for what's happened to him. He seeks justice for those who are wrongly convicted. I am proud to call him my close friend. David Milgaard.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your introduction. I really appreciate that. Canadians believe in what is right and just. It actually makes a difference in how we feel about ourselves. I spent almost 23 years living inside of Canada's worst prisons. It was a nightmare. People do not have much love and care inside those walls. You cannot let innocent people be disqualified from life, from beauty. Men, women, and children, innocent, doomed. I am David Milgaard, one of the many voices of the wrongfully convicted. My mother once said, if I have learned anything through this battle, it is that justice in the courts is not guaranteed. It is something that must be fought for and won. We must set up an independent board of review now. To help everyone, we must get these people out of prison. These men, women, and in some cases children, exist on hope. Canada's conviction review process is failing. Any conviction review process requires us to free the wrongfully convicted from our prisons as quickly as possible. How do we go forward with this truth? Our present conviction review process by the Federal Minister of Justice, Honorable Peter MacKay, is not working. We must make changes to help those we want to help. Canada is not the first country to want to enhance public confidence and to bring hope and justice to those wrongfully convicted in our prisons. There are just too many political scandals and too much corruption for us to ignore it. How would you feel if you were wrongfully convicted and the system responsible for getting you out doesn't work? I am serious. How would you feel if the system responsible for getting you out of prison for being wrongfully convicted doesn't work? When we fail the wrongfully convicted inside our prisons, it reflects badly on us as a people in our society. We must do all we can do to help them. I continue to speak at our universities and beg people to work toward making the changes we need to make. I know Erwin Kotler, former Minister of Justice, will be introducing a bill in the House to do something about the problem I have shared with you. Again, I thank all of you for your time and consideration in this matter. And I have something special that I'm able to do now. I'm able to introduce a friend of mine, a person that is on a committee that works to support the wrongfully convicted, and her name is Lori Kuffner, and I hope that she has something special to tell all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I became involved with AIDWIC about 7 or 8 years ago as a concerned citizen. I had heard about them. They formed way back in 1992 when G. Paul Moran was convicted of a crime he didn't commit. When they got together to give him a fair trial, they realized that G. Paul Moran wasn't the only one that was probably innocent in prison, and they became the Association in Defense of the Wrongly Convicted. You know, growing up, I had heard about wrongful convictions. You read the book of Stephen Trescott by Isabelle Laborde. You watched David Milgaard's story unfold on national television, and you think that's one in a million. Our criminal justice system is solid as a rock. And even though it's fair, there's a lot of errors that happen, and people end up in prison wrongly convicted. AIDWIC today has exonerated 18 people that have served 175 years in prison for crimes they did not commit. They have on their review table 78 cases. That doesn't even include the ones they haven't even considered. And I guess my request today is to get everyone involved in the criminal justice system. If this can happen to Stephen Trescott, to David Milgaard, to Guy Paul Moran, it can happen to you. Thank you.
I'm sure if there are some questions for myself, for Greg, please feel free to ask them. We'll try to do our very best to give you some answers.
David, I think there's probably in this country a stronger narrative among the public that's given to the public that sentences are too lenient, prison's too cushy, we need to do more to get tough. I mean, how do you get past that to get your message?
I think we should be honest with ourselves, you know. The question is, you know, are our prisons working? You know, is the justice model that's inside our prisons, is it actually working to help the community? Or is it actually failing the community? There are many different justice models in this world that function a whole lot better than our Canadian system. Ours is a punitive model. There are models that use merciful leniency, and it's amazing the difference in what takes place. People are surrounded with care, with concern, and with people willing to resource them. The different things that make up for, I suppose, the environment that, you know, criminality is something that takes place, is really sometimes issues of poverty, Aboriginal concerns, and, you know, if there wasn't such a big effort to take money away from all these different things that can make a difference, you know, in these people's lives, you know, then we probably wouldn't have the problem that we have today.
Do we have any idea how many wrongful convictions that are made
And speaking with different people in different parts of the world about that question, there's a lady that works with an organization that all they do is they identify people by DNA that have been wrongfully convicted. And every time they do so, and there's a public, people are saying this is a case that has been found, all the people in that particular area start applying for the same sort of thing to get the DNA evidence. And then there's a whole bunch more that come up. In our Canadian prisons right now, as I'm speaking to all of you, we have wrongfully convicted people. We have wrongfully convicted men. We have wrongfully convicted women. In some cases, children sitting still right now inside cages. And they don't have our support. and they don't have a system that is willing to help them get out of that situation because it's failing miserably. That's the most important issue here today. I thank you. For Greg, possibly a question. Anyone?
I'd like, if I could, just to respond briefly to the last question, and that is, you have to distinguish between the issue of prisons and how prisoners and guilty people are treated to how people who are not guilty are treated. There may be a sentiment among members of society that prison system is too harsh on those who are guilty, but that doesn't speak to the question of how we treat the people who are actually wrongfully convicted.
And one of the things you mentioned is the British system and how we should be more like them. How should we be more like the British system? How is it better?
Well, it's operated by an impartial tribunal that is handpicked for its impartiality and its ability to investigate cases of wrongful conviction, to come to appropriate conclusions based on that impartial review of the evidence, and to then apply the appropriate remedy to the situation. We can't be asking the police and prosecutors to investigate themselves. That's the error of our system, or the justice officials to investigate themselves. They are invested in the success of the system, and they find it difficult to recognize their own errors.
If I could, just for a second, Greg, I could join you. I don't mind to join you. I think probably just what he spoke about, being able to offer a remedy solution in this equation. When you have a conviction review process that is there in place to gather all the information, to get what they can and relay in a way of saying this is an actual wrongful conviction. You know, the most interesting thing about the ministerial review process is that it doesn't have a solution to the problem. So a person goes all the way through all of that, and then they say, well, we have two options. We can send it back to the Court of Appeal, and have them take a look at this information, or we can give the person a new trial and have them look at the situation. How much sense does it make to spend millions of dollars to end up with what they are sure of is a wrongful conviction, and then basically tell people that have been wrongfully convicted, well, we can't just let you go? That, to me, in itself speaks by itself for what the situation is.